Hello, 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 ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for hitting that play button for another episode of the Heady Coleman podcast, where I am on a mission to encourage 1 million teachers weekly. One of the great things that I do to help encourage teachers is have conversations with teachers. Then I share those stories and with people who support teachers and public schools, or schools in general. I guess I should say public schools. To you, doesn't matter if it's public or private. Is it still education?
Yes,
It's
definitely.
still education.
Yep. Still there for the kids.
Still there for the kids.
Yeah.
Today, ladies and gentlemen, you just heard her voice. We have the one and only Miss Kenzi. Am I saying that right?
Yes.
Todd. What is it like to have two first names?
Most people call me Kenzi Todd. Like, no one ever just says Kenzi.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it's
always
the same
like
for my
both?
brother, Jack. They always say Kenzi Todd, Jack Todd. So
What do you think it's because y'all have two first names?
I
or-
don't know.
Yeah.
I think it just has a catch to it.
That's
Two
right.
short names. So
Just two short names. Now,
Yeah.
Kenzi, you're a school teacher. Tell us where you teach at, what grade?
I teach second grade at Charter Oak Elementary. It's the newest Guthrie school.
What's it like to? Because that's all you only know new.
Yes.
You never been in one of the older schools, right?
Well, I grew up in Guthrie, so I went to all the other schools, and it's pretty different. Like out at Charter Oak, all of our furniture matches and is the same, and everything looks new and pretty. So it is nice to have new.
Yeah, for sure. What did you think you were gonna be when you were a kid?
Well, I always kind of knew I wanted to be a teacher. My mom was a teacher, so I was at schools a lot, all the time, really. And I used to love to play school in her classroom because I had like a real life play set to play with all the time. So I always kind of knew, but when I got into high school, I was kind of in denial about it, I guess, because I wanted to make a lot of money and do something like that. And so when I started college, I don't even remember what my major was, but it was something that I never would have really been happy doing.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I was just about to get out of my basics and into my major courses that I was like, this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. And I changed it to education. So, but I pretty much always knew
that education was probably going to be your thing.
Yeah.
Now, for those of you listening, your mom's a teacher, then became a principal.
Yes.
And of course, you just said that you had her classroom to kind of play teach in. Mm-hmm. Did she ever encourage you to be a teacher, or was it like you just do what makes you happy?
It was definitely do what makes you happy, and she would definitely tell me to explore my other options, just because of like the salaries and stuff like that. But when I finally told her that that's what I really want to do, she was happy and excited and ready to share all the tips with me and stuff. So,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What was one tip that she gave you that you actually took heed to and it's worked?
When I was in college, I would come with these assignments that would end up being like 20-page long, elaborate lesson plans, and she was like, "You're never going to actually do that for every lesson." And I would stress myself out about it and be really worried about getting everything down to look good on paper, and she told me that that's not what it's about. It's not that important. So that's kind of stuck with me. And then just building the relationships with the kids. You can't do anything until you've done that. So
Gotcha.
that's the most important.
So I hear you saying most important is building a relationship with the kids. What would you say has been like the second most important thing? Because I think everybody would probably say building a relationship with the kids is numero number one. What would be that second most important thing that you learned?
Probably establishing those routines and procedures with the kids, and just being consistent with those and their consequences when they're not doing the right thing. And I'd say that's probably the second most important for them.
Now, what year is this for you?
This is my second full year.
Third class. So now your first year, did you try to be lax and try to be the cool teacher, or did you always go straight in and be like, nope, this is what I said, this is what I do? Or did you learn?
No.
Did you have to learn like, okay, being cool is definitely
I've had to learn because I went in my first year. I went in halfway through, and they had been in 3 different classes prior to being in mine with 3 different teachers, different routines, different rules. So when I got them, I didn't really have a choice but to be a little bit more strict because we had to establish our own new class with new rules and everything, and it was really hard. And I, at one point, was like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, this is hard, and I don't want these kids to hate me or think I'm mean, you know?
Yeah.
But I think that they kind of see that as, they know that they need those rules and routines. So,
you know, it's funny because I've had conversations with several teachers now, and they all pretty much say the same thing about kids need discipline. The kids know they need discipline.
yes.
I'm like, what? I don't think I remember thinking I needed discipline or structure or whatever, but it's definitely something that has to be true because literally every conversation that I've had with a teacher, it goes back oftentimes to this, okay, if you get some good structure, and I'm currently reading a book called Untold Teacher Truths, and it's a really good book. It's really cool kind of learning from she once was a teacher. She probably would still call herself a teacher, right?
Yeah.
But she's given all these different ways to manage the classroom. And that's the one thing that she goes to. She's like, nope, you got to be forceful, but in a loving way, and keep those kids in line.
Yes.
Like, have you, I'm sure you have, your experience with that kid is like, nothing seems to work with this kid. What did you do?
That I actually have 2 friends like that this year. And
What'd you call them, friends?
Yeah.
You got 2 friends like that. Yeah.
And it's been really hard, but we're finally kind of getting to a place where we kind of have a mutual respect for each other, and we're kind of understanding how things are going to be, and we're working with it. Hopefully it'll get better, but
that's probably gonna be every year, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna always have those kind of friends who are, I call them world changers.
Yes.
They're just disruptors.
They're definitely the ones that stand out and the ones you remember the most.
Yeah.
So.
Now, what about parents? What have you learned? Of course, I mean, I think everybody would say parents who are involved, there seems to be a better chance of those kids being having more success. What have you learned to kind of help parents get engaged, or is there anything you can really do about that?
I try my best to give positive feedback to parents just as much as I have to negative sometimes.
Okay.
So the kids that, some kids you have to talk to their parents more than others.
Yeah.
But it's just as important to give them positive feedback too. So if somebody does something, say to help someone out, or they get a really good grade, or they master something that they've been struggling with, I try really hard to reach out to parents about those things too, so that they're not just hearing from me when it's something negative or when there's a problem or behavior problem or something. And I use a really cool website called Class Dojo to talk to parents, and my kids earn Class Dojo points, and they have like little monsters on there, and they get to create them, and they earn points on there, and their parents can see what they're earning points for throughout the day. So if it's like they're on task or they're helping others or whatever it might be, I give them points throughout the day. And then they also have these really cool things called big ideas on there, and they're little videos and questions about different things like respect and mindfulness and things like that. So I really like that website for parent communication.
Now, where I thought you were going to go with that, which I think this would be cool, I thought you were going to say like the kids get incentives when they get their parents to show up or to follow. I'm like, that might be a good idea. Like if somebody was to give me treats to make sure my parents, I'd be all over my mom.
Yeah.
Mom,
they do get incentives when they get so many points and stuff. But
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. No, that's good. So give me one of your favorite teacher moments over the last couple of years now.
One that definitely stands out is last year I had a kid, and all year long he was, I can't read, I can't do it, I'm not going to try. And I would always constantly be telling him, we're not saying I can't, like you can say I can't yet, but we're not going to say I can't and just shut down. And he, do you know Joyce? Miss Joyce Powell? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she goes North Church.
Yeah,
where
she
I go
works
to
out
church,
at Charter Oak, and she pulled this kid and worked with them individually sometimes too. And we take a test called the STAR test 3 times a year. And his first 2 tests, I mean, he scored, pretty low. And that's just one test one day. It doesn't show everything that you know. But on his 3rd test, he scored super high, like in the green. And I went to look, and I was kind of taken back. I was like, whoa, that something might not be right here. And I hate to say that,
we need
but
to retake the test?
I was like, something's off. And he goes and he takes his test with Miss Joyce. So I go to Miss Joyce and I'm like, so he did this, took this test and he scored this. And she was like, he did it all by himself. And I was like, he's scored green. And me and Miss Joyce, we had a little moment. We almost cried. It was like,
wow.
It was a big deal for him. And I called him over and I was like, you told me you can't read. And he said, yeah, well, you were being annoying about it. So I just finally started
Wait a second,
trying.
what grade is this?
Second.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
But it was his second time doing second. So he was a little older than the rest of them. But he said, well, you were annoying me about it. So
that made him.
Yeah.
Wow. So your persistence, so to speak, what he called being annoying, was the thing that kind of pushed him into like giving it a shot.
Yes.
Wow. But still, like, how smart are you to be able to come up with that? Like,
right. And he always could.
Yeah.
He just didn't want to, and he didn't want to give us the satisfaction of doing it for us.
Yeah.
So he always could.
That's cool. Yeah, it's moments like that that probably lets you say, you know what, I love this job. And you kind of have to hold on to those moments, I would imagine. Like when it gets challenging and hard, those are the things that you definitely have to keep a hold of. What is something that's changed since you started teaching? Like, I know you haven't been teaching that long, but has there been anything that's like changed for you that has either allowed for your job maybe to be more challenging, maybe not in a negative way, but you had to adjust?
One thing that I've noticed like last year and this year was kids are on like their technology so much that sometimes I feel like their social skills are kind of lacking a little bit. So
do you and your mom talk about this?
No, we haven't really.
She and I were just talking about this, but go ahead. Yes.
Okay. And I just, because you asked the kid what they did over the weekend, and it's either, I played on my tablet or I played video games. And I just feel like when I was a kid, like I played outside a lot more, and kids just need to be out and using their imagination. And so that's one thing that I think has changed a little bit just over the past couple of years is the technology and how much they're on it. And I think it's kind of starting to affect them a little bit. So.
Gotcha. I think what she was saying was, I guess it's the same thing, just like they're not learning life skills. They're not learning how to be able to sit there and just pay attention, like those kind of things.
Or carry on a conversation.
Or even, I guess, even ask questions, right?
Yes.
Which is part of sometimes carrying on a conversation. They just don't know how to do that because of the way they're interacting with technology and everything.
Yeah.
What have you kind of been trying to figure out how to overcome that?
A little bit. I've kind of taken a step back with like our Chromebooks in the classroom and stuff, and only using them when they're necessary, and trying not to give them a whole lot of time to just free play on there.
Yeah.
Instead, like if they earn like free time or whatever, I try to put the Chromebooks away and let them play with like our classroom toys that we have and stuff, as opposed to being on the Chromebooks. And one day a week, I've also been assigning like playing outside for 10 minutes as homework, whether you're just like reading outside or whatever it might be, I tell them to go do that. And they get really excited when I assign that as homework because they're like, well, that's not work, you know? So, and their parents write in their planners what they do for homework. So they know that they'll get to tell their parents they're supposed to play outside and write in the planner. So that seems to be exciting for them. So,
yeah, that's good. Because, kids do not. So my son and daughter that are currently in high school, and I guess I have one that's 25 as well. But I always tell them, like, the thing that we used to do to have fun was just go hang out at the temple. Right? There was no technology. It would be hundreds of us out there just hanging out on our cars, playing music, interacting, talking.
Yes.
And I was wondering, I was like, to them that doesn't make sense as much. And I was like, oh, it's because they chat through Facebook and Instagram, and you can have hundreds of people. Like when my son got married, all of his groomsmen except one were from out of town because of playing video games, right? That is cool. That's cool too. Cool. That is cool. Yes. But at the same time, it's like, I need these kids to go outside and just hang out and ride. Like, there's not kids riding bikes.
I know.
I'm like, that's so crazy.
I used to ride my bike all around the neighborhood, and I don't even think my brother knows how to ride a bike. So if he listens to this, he's going to be mad at me for saying that. But
Jack, you don't know how to ride a bike, homie. Let me hang out with you. We're going to get you on the bike. Yeah. Yeah, but that's just wild, though. It's just the change in the way the world is going. But at the same time, it's like, okay, do you embrace it, or do you keep trying to fight against it where, like, how do I get these kids outside to play? How do I get them
definitely can be a positive thing as far as, like, connecting with people and stuff. But I think there needs to be a little bit of a balance, a good balance especially with kids. Yeah. They need to be out using their imagination and as much as they can. So
For sure. Now, earlier we talked about pay. Parents is like, hey, maybe not going to teaching because we know the pay is not good. Have you had to get a side hustle? Or are you like learning how to manage with just the income of a teacher?
I luckily have not had to get a side hustle yet. I'm pretty good at kind of planning for the things that I have to pay for every month and budgeting that. So I don't have a side hustle yet, but I have thought about it.
You know, that's one of the questions I always ask you. And I was like, why do I always think teachers going to have side hustle? Nobody has had a side hustle yet. I'm like, I'm just waiting. One, I love side hustles. Like I love projects and things like that. What have you thought about doing?
Well, honestly, I just thought about like maybe waitressing somewhere like on the weekends, like a diner, you know?
That's
like
not creative at all.
No, it's not, but it is something that I have thought about.
Yeah.
And, you know, my mom does her like t-shirts and stuff that she makes, and she redoes her furniture. And I've kind of been thinking about making some t-shirts and stuff, not like to sell, but just like for fun.
Okay.
So
yeah. Does your mom use a Cricut? Like, how is she doing her
She
t-shirts?
does have a Cricut, but she also has like a press thing too, where she can
Does she really?
Yeah, she can make shirts.
I did not know that.
Yeah, she does.
So that, and then what else did you say she does?
She makes store signs. She's made everything decorative in my house pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah, she does all that. She just redid some like a furniture piece. She loves to do stuff like that.
Like how, like redoing it as in like changing out the fabric, like leather?
She bought this. I don't even know what it is. Like a long something. It's in our kitchen now. But she completely stripped all the paint off of it, sanded it down.
What?
Yeah.
Marsha,
it's
why
like
are you
a whole
holding out on me? I didn't
furniture
know.
piece. Yeah.
Okay. But she's not flipping it though. She's not reselling any of it?
No.
Okay.
She's just doing it.
Just
for
doing
fun
it to
keep
kind of enjoy it. That's crazy. That is so cool. What is with your mom being a teacher, like what's a funny story maybe, or a moment with her being a teacher that you remember most? Is there anything like that sticks out in your head?
Not at the moment. Let me think. I just remember, like, now I get it. Like, at the end of the day, she would always just be like, I can't answer any more questions. Like, I don't know what's for dinner. We'll figure it out. Not like in a rude, cranky way, but now I understand. Like, she's answered 1,000 questions today. She doesn't want to answer our questions. So I kind of understand that a lot more now. And I told her that not too long ago, and she laughed and she was like, yeah. Now you understand.
And so all the way through high school, was she a teacher in the classroom, or was she a principal some of your?
I think she started being a principal my sophomore year of high school.
Okay. Did you notice a change in her from going from teaching to being a principal?
She definitely worked a lot longer hours. And she definitely had a lot more on her plate. But I didn't notice like a huge difference now.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, but I bet she probably gets way more questions now that, being a principal, like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, now she gets the questions from the adults and the kids. So, all day.
Now, one of the things I asked you was, I asked you to send me 5 things to be consistent and to be the greatest teacher. And you sent me these 5 things. I'm going to share the 5 that you sent me, and then we'll go down one by one, okay? The first one was respect. And then number 2 was procedures and routines. Number 3, consequences. 4, start fresh every day. 5, positive parent communication. And, some of these things you've already touched on, but let's just see if there's anything else. The first one's respect. Talk to me about what that means.
A lot of times people don't think that they think the kids need to have respect for them as a teacher, but it's just as important for the teacher to have respect for the kids.
Oh, yeah.
One of my favorite, it's a TED Talk by Rita Pearson. It's called Every Child Needs a Champion. And one thing she says in that is that kids don't learn from people that they don't like. And she says it to be funny, but like it's true. If they don't think that you respect them, they're not going to care at all about what you're saying. So I think it's just as important to have mutual respect for them as you expect them to for you too.
Now, what was that TED Talk again?
I believe it's called Every Child Needs a Champion. It's by Rita Pearson.
Oh, okay,
it's really, really good.
Who told you about that?
I watched it in college for one of my classes, the first time that I watched it.
Gotcha. I love that though. Yeah, I think that's so true. Like just as much as an adult, we want to get respect. I think it's important that we give respect to children, and that's where they learn to give respect.
Yes.
Is when we start respecting them, and then also I think we explain it to them when we're giving it so they'll understand what that is and why we're doing that. Number 2 was procedures and routines.
Yes. From the first day of school, you have to go in and establish your procedures and then be consistent with them. Kids kind of thrive when they have a routine and they know what's coming.
Yeah.
They don't do well in chaos or when things change unexpectedly, which sometimes you can't help that, obviously, but it's important to have those procedures and just be as consistent as you can be.
Have you learned your procedures and routines over time? Like, do you find yourself tweaking them as the year go on?
Yeah,
or do you do it year by year?
I'm still tweaking a little bit. So last year was kind of, I kind of learned a lot about that because it was my first year having kids from start to finish where I could really establish them.
Gotcha.
And then this year I kind of changed a few things that didn't work and added things and took things away. So it's just something, and each group of kids is different too. Something that works for one class might not work for another class. It just depends. So
can you give me an example of one of the routines that you have or procedures?
So every morning when the kids get there, we go pick them up in the gym and walk down to the classroom together. But they know not to just like walk in the classroom. I stand at the door and we do either like a high five, we say hello or a hug, whatever they're comfortable with, what they want to do. And I make sure that I greet them every morning. So they know like to line up at the door and not just like go in the classroom and go crazy. And by doing that, it keeps them, one, you get to greet every single one of them individually, which is important. But also it keeps them all from just like barging in there together and just going crazy in the morning. So that's the first one that comes to mind.
Number 3, consequences.
Yes, you got to be consistent with those too. That was one thing that was hard for me. My first year, I would give lots and lots of chances, like before I ever actually did anything. And it got to the point where, you know, they'd be like, well, you're saying you're going to do this, but you're not really going to do it. And they would kind of catch on to that, I think, and just keep on with whatever behavior it was. So that's one thing that I kind of had to learn the hard way was if you say that this is the consequence for this action, you have to go through with it. Even if it's like a kid that never gets in trouble and it's like you still have to be consistent. Or the other kids will say, oh, well, she did it and she didn't get in trouble. So you have to be consistent across the board with consequences too.
Because they're watching.
Yeah, they are. And they know. And that's their favorite thing to say is that's not fair.
Yeah. They are definitely
consistent.
watching. What is one of the consequences that you've established? Like when kid does, I don't know, talk out of.
I use a planner to communicate back and forth with their parents, like just basic stuff. So we start with like a verbal warning. After that, it's, you know, you might have to walk at recess and then it's write a note in the planner. And that's like the next step before like we have to call or.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. All right, number 4, start fresh every day. I'm really curious about this.
This one actually is probably the most important.
Okay.
Especially, well, in my opinion, especially with the kids that do struggle with behavior. Because it's easy to sometimes if we have like a really hard day where they're in trouble a lot or they're doing the same things over and over, it's easy to kind of come in the next day and still kind of be mad at them or, you know, they're mad at you. It's important to just for them to know that what you did yesterday is not going to carry over into today and it's a new day. So everything that happened yesterday is old news. We're moving on. So
that's good. So I wrote an ebook called Hello. And essentially that's what it's about. Like the teachers that made the greatest impact on me was the ones who didn't. The next day when I showed up, they still looked at me and said hello. They looked me in the eyes and just the power of the touch and just being mindful of like, because kids are watching and we can feel it.
Yes.
Like we can feel the energy when somebody has like a teacher's holding a little bit of grudge against you or whatever.
They definitely can.
Yeah. So I wrote a whole ebook around that and so that's so true. I like that. Number 5, positive parent communication.
Yes. Like I said, that's just as like sometimes parents only hear from the teacher when their kid's in trouble. But it's important to tell them about all the good things that their kid is doing too. Because no parent wants to, every time they see the school number on the phone, be like, oh, they're in trouble. You know, it's good to hear the positive things too. And it's good that the kids, like their parents will tell them like, your teacher told me you did awesome today. It's good for them to hear that too, instead of just hearing the negative. So
do you start with the negative or do you start with the positive? Like when you got to correct or call a parent, do you start with the negative or you start with the positive?
I try to start it off with the positive.
Okay.
And then, you know, maybe say the things we can work on and then try to close it out with the positive.
So you do the sandwich approach.
Yeah.
Bread, meat, bread. Okay. That's good. Yeah. Because I remember one time somebody would say start with the negative and end with the positive. But I think I've liked starting with some type of positive.
Yeah.
Then do whatever we need to talk about, the challenging thing, and then end with another positive. Because that's what you want to leave it on.
Yeah. That's kind of what I try to go with for like parent-teacher conferences and stuff.
Yeah.
So it just makes it easier.
That's good. All right. So those are your 5 right things to be consistent in to be the greatest teacher of all time. Now, we also asked you about 5 things that you can't live without. Okay. The first one was caffeine. Is it just coffee or chocolate or?
Coffee. And I love the Alani energy drinks.
Oh, okay.
I love
Is that
those.
0 sugar or?
0 sugar, only 10 calories.
Only 10 calories.
But 200 milligrams of caffeine.
Yeah, so I didn't know, like, there's these, I call her Mama Joy, and she brings me these drinks every Thursday for when she comes to church. And they're 0 sugar, like 10 calories or something like that. But then, so I'm talking to somebody, it's like, do you know that has 300 whatever of caffeine? I was like, Oh my god, that's the reason my wife told me I didn't need them because I'm already a high.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need much anything to stay energized or whatever. But okay, caffeine. So we heard that. Flare pens.
Flare pens, yes.
Is that your favorite pen?
That's the best kind of pen there
That is the best one ever.
Yes.
Is that at Walmart or?
Yeah, you can get them at Walmart, anywhere really.
Okay.
They're just the best pens. They write smooth and make my handwriting look nice.
How long did it take you to find these Flare pens?
I've always used them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
These
like
always
since
been a
high
go-to.
school.
Okay.
I've used the Flare
You carried
pens.
over into teaching.
Yes.
Okay, talking about pens, do teachers no longer use red ink to mark up papers?
Yeah, they say that is negative. Like if you get a paper back and everything is red, it's like a negative color. So
they should let me go back and do school over there because that red probably ruined my life.
yeah.
Class dojo. Now, is this what you were talking about earlier?
Yes, Class Dojo. Yes.
And you can't live without that.
No. Well, I could, but it's nice to have. We use it for our point systems. The kids know if they're doing the right thing, they're going above and beyond, they're going to get dojo points. Then they get little incentives. And like I said earlier, it has all those little lessons about the big ideas like respect, and things like that I think are really cool. So
Gotcha. Is that like a subscription-based kind of thing? All
totally
teachers
free.
have?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Most of the teachers at Charter Oak anyway use it for their parent communication. There's also other ones like Class Tag. There's several different that
Does
are
Google
similar.
have one? Is that what Google Classroom is, or is that just for schoolwork?
Google Classroom is more like to give assignments and stuff, but I think you could use it as that too.
Gotcha. The fourth one, My Classroom Twinkle Lights. What is that?
So I have like little twinkle lights throughout my room. It just kind of like sets like a calm mood in the room. I don't like to have the lights on like full.
Oh, gotcha.
We have like lights that dim kind of, so they're not like full on just bright all the time.
Gotcha.
I like to turn them down just a little bit and turn on the twinkle light so there's just more calm in there. It's just makes the kids relax a little bit.
Gotcha. Chill out a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes, chillax. And then number 5, I'm proud of this one, a MacBook.
Yes.
Are you an Apple?
I am.
Are you all Apple, iPhone, all that?
Yeah. I mean, my school computer and stuff isn't Apple, but my personal one is, and I use it all the time. I do my lesson plans on there, and it's easy to come back and forth with me. So I have it all the time. So.
Do y'all use Windows, or what do y'all use as a school?
Yeah,
Okay.
Dell. My computer's Dell. I'm not very tech savvy. Is that the same thing? I don't know.
Yeah, Dell, yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's probably a Windows base, meaning, so Dell is the hardware. They make the hardware.
Okay.
Windows is the software.
Yes, yes, it is Windows.
Yep. Apple makes both their software and their hardware. So yeah. So yep. So but that's good though that you're doing both, so you can be familiar with how Apple's operating system works, and then also keep Windows. Because like, if I got on Windows right now, I probably could figure it out.
Yeah.
But I'd be like, what in the world is this? Because all I've used is Mac for so long. But so that's good that you're using both. Kenzi, this was so easy. You did such a great job. Thank you so much. Tell me this last question. If you could wake up tomorrow, you're going anywhere in the world for whatever kind of job that you're doing, where you going?
I've always wanted to go to Rome, Italy.
Wow, Rome.
I don't know why. It's just always kind of intrigued me. I've always wanted to go there. So,
yeah. That's cool. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
How can people find you online, or if you do any of that kind of stuff? Or
I'm not a big social media gal, but I do have Instagram.
How old are you?
I know.
Oh my goodness gracious alive!
I know. I do have Instagram. It's just Kenzi Todd.
Kenzi Todd.
Yeah.
All right. Kenzi, again, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all again for hitting the play button for another episode of the Heady Coleman podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm on a mission to encourage 1 million teachers weekly. Go tell some teachers to follow me. Let's connect. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, as always, and my mom is in the building. Go, Mom. As always, ladies and gentlemen, go win.